This month we're going to work on a solo rendition of a medley between Carol of the Bells and God Rest You Merry Gentlemen. This came out really nicely because they both have that really haunting minor type of feel, and it was actually voted on over at my Patreon page, where every month a new song is decided on by the members. So if you'd like to help determine next month's tutorial, be sure to check it out. The link's in the description below. You can also find the tab download there as well if you sign up. But let's go ahead and jump into Carol of the Bells / God Rest You Merry Gentlemen. So to start here, we're going to play the melody of Carol of the Bells. It's actually really straightforward for the first bar here, and we're going to repeat this bar 4 times. We're going to start here with our middle finger on the 3rd fret of the E string. We're going to pluck that, and then go to 2 on the E, then 3 again, and then open on the E. And then in that bar, that actually repeats. 3, 2, 3, 0, 3, 2, 3, 0. And we're going to do that a grand total of 4 times, so 2 times through the bar. Now the difficult thing with this is actually playing it in time because it's so fast. So if you try to just use your thumb, it's really hard to kind of keep up. So what I like to do is use my thumb and my middle finger to actually go back and forth between the note. This is called alternate picking, and if you have your thumb about a 45-degree angle to the string and your middle finger more perpendicular, you get this nice balance in your hand that can allow you to build up a lot of speed, and it's going to come in handy several times throughout this arrangement. So now that first measure should sound something like this. Now as we go to the second measure, because we repeated the first one twice, we're going to do the exact same thing, only now we're also going to have 4 on the C string played. So the way that we do that is we take our ring finger and fret 4 on the C while still holding the 3 on the E with the middle finger. And we can pluck with our thumb and middle fingers, again in that same sort of position. And after doing that, I can then exchange back and forth between the thumb and the middle on the E string. So it's thumb and middle together. And then I can leave my ring finger where it is, take off the middle, place 2 on the E with the index finger, and then play 3 on the E, and then open on the E. Right? So we now have, and you'll see that I'm playing the thumb and middle, and then I'm going to play thumb and middle, and thumb. And then from here, it goes to the same 3, 2, 3, 0, but now there's a 2 on the C string. So we want to use our index finger to play that 2 on the C and play the 3 on the E with the middle finger. Or we can play the 3 with the ring finger. And the reason why I like this is so that our middle finger can then be placed on the 2 on the E. And we can put back on the ring and take it off. So that measure 2, should look something like this. Now you'll notice it's really important that whatever note is played on the C string, that's sort of our bass note, and we want it to resonate through the measure. So we want to make sure that we're not taking it off when we play the other notes. You'll notice that I go, instead of going, and you hear that makes the note go away. We want to keep it ringing. Now as we go on to measure 3, we're going to play 0 on the C with 3 on the E. So that's exactly the same as measure 1, only we're going to pluck the 0 on the C in addition. Right? And then it goes to the 2 on the C again, the same way that we did the second half of measure 2. So the best way there is index here on the 2nd fret of the C string, ring finger on the 3rd fret of the E, so that our middle can be the 2 on the E. Now we're going to repeat those 2 measures, measures 2 and 3, we're going to repeat them. So it sounds something like this. First run through. And then it repeats. And then for the very end of this first line, we're then going to actually fret a B7 chord, which is bar all the way across the 2nd fret of the G, C, E, and A strings. And add the middle finger here on 3 of the C. We're going to pluck the C string first, then the E string, then the G string. And that closes off measure 4, which is the whole first line here. So the whole first stanza that's listed on the screen right now should sound something like this, nice and slow. Now going right into measure 5 with this new stanza, we're going to play 2 on the A. And that kind of closes off the first run through of Carol of the Bells, because now we're going to go into the God Rest You Merry Gentlemen. We're going to start here with the 4 on the C, and we want to use our ring finger for this, because we're going to fret that 4 and then leave the G and E strings open and strum those 3 strings together. Now for this, you can use your thumb or finger pick it. It doesn't really matter for this first part. You're going to play the 2 on the A, and then some spicy stuff starts to happen that I really like about this arrangement. We get this chromaticism in the bass line, which is what's being played on the C string. And to do this, we're going to play 3 on the C with our middle finger, while still holding the 2 on the A with our index. Then we're going to play the open A. So that first little bit should sound something like this. Now, when we play that 2 and that 3 together, we have to use different fingers. I like to use my thumb and my middle. You'll notice I use those 2 fingers a lot in this arrangement. Then as we go to the next part here, we're going to go to measure 7, and it's going to be 2 on the C string with the middle finger. And I like to do 3 on the E string with my ring finger, pluck those 2 together. And then 2 on the E. And I use my middle finger for that, so you see that the ring can come off to facilitate that. And then I'm going to play 1 and 0. So I'm going to take off the middle finger. I'm going to slide the index down to 1, play the C and E strings together. Now I'll play the 2 on the C, and when I do that, I can use my middle finger to come on. So measure 7 should sound like this. Measure 8 is open on the C and the E strings. And then the next note of measure 8 here is 2 on the E, which I like to use my index finger on. And the reason is because the next thing that's played is a 4 on the C string and a 3 on the E, which I like to use my ring on the 4C and my middle here on the 3E. And then it's an open A. So that measure 8 is. And then measure 9, which you'll notice will repeat back to measure 6, we're going to play that same B7 chord, but this time we don't have to do the full bar. We just need the 3 on the C string here with our middle finger. Then our index can actually just bar over the E and the A strings while we pluck those 3 strings together. At this point, you'll notice it then goes to the 4 on the C, which is a little pickup to reset it back to measure 6. So the pickup to measure 6 with measure 6 all the way through 9 should sound something like this. And what's really fun about it is it just repeats. And on the repeat, once we go to the second line here, we get to measure 10, and you'll notice it's the same chord. And then the last note of that's just going to be the 2 on the A by itself. And now we're going into the next section here of Carol of the Bells. So after we play that 2 on the A, we're going to play an A minor, and the way we do this is index finger here on 2 of the G, and ring finger here on 3 of the A. We're going to strum through with our thumb. And you'll notice at this point, I'm going to use a lot of the thumb strumming through these chords just because I think it sounds really nice. Then I'm going to play the open A, so take the ring off. And then we play a G chord, index finger here on the 2nd fret of the C string, ring finger here on the 3rd fret of the E, middle finger here on the 2nd fret of the A, strum through all 4. And then when it goes to the 3 on the A, I'm going to add my pinky on 3 of the A, so I don't have to move anything. So it goes. As we go into measure 12, it's a little tricky because our pinky needs to go up to 5. And when we do that, it stretches out the hand, but we still need the 2 and the 3. So what I like to do here is when I stretch out that pinky to 5, leave the index on, but then use the middle finger to come on the 3 of the E so that the pinky can stretch out without going too far. So that 0, 2, 3, 5 is played with your index on the 2 of the C, middle on 3 of the E, and pinky on 5 of the A. And then it's going to slide all the way up to 7. And then we're going to jump back down to our G chord. And then we're going to take the middle finger off for an open A. So to hear those two measures, measure 11 and measure 12 together, and to see the fingering really nice and slow, it should be something like this. So not too difficult, right? And then we're going to play 0, 0, 3, and we can just take off our index finger here to play that. And then we're going to take off for an open E. And then at the end of measure 13 here, we've got 4, 3, 2. It's a kind of a B chord that's being played. So we can think of this with our ring finger on 4 of the G, middle finger on 3 of the C, and index on 2 of the E, and strum through those 3 strings. And then for the 3 on the E, there's 2 different ways you can play this. One is, if you're comfortable with it, you can just slide that index finger up and stack it underneath. The other way, if that's too difficult, is to move the middle finger from the 3rd fret of the C string to the 3 of the E. But the problem with that is the note will stop ringing when you move the finger. So if you can get comfortable with that little slide, it really helps. So now to listen to all of this, measures 10, 11, 12, 13, it should sound something like this. Now as we go on to measure 14 here, we're going to play a D chord. The preferred way of playing this D chord is actually like this, 2, 2, 2, 0, where the 2 is covered with the index finger on the G, C, and E strings, and we actually have the finger break off to let that A string ring out. It's really tricky because it requires flexibility in the finger. And you might not have it at first, but just like yoga, or touching your toes, it might not be that you can't ever do it, it's just that you lack the flexibility to do it now. So I recommend practicing this, and a little trick is to bend right at that knuckle joint and place the E string right in at that point, because that will allow you to get a break angle off of it. If I'm too low, you'll notice the A strings can be hit. If I'm too high, the E isn't touched. So it's getting right in against that knuckle can really help. If that's challenging right now, though, it's okay to play a D chord with 3 fingers with your index, middle, and ring all stacked. But this is really preferred long term. Once you learn a D chord this way, you'll never play it another way. It's pretty cool. So to start 14, we're going to play that. And then 3 on the E with our middle finger just adding 2, and then open A. And then we're going to play a G chord. And the G chords play with 3 fingers, index on 2 of the C, ring on 3 of the E, middle on 2 of the A. Then 3 with our pinky, so we add to it instead of take away. And then 2 again. Then the G chord again. So you see this is pretty straightforward going through measure 15 into now 16. Then open, so we take the middle finger off, leave the other. Then 3. And then we're going to have to take the ring finger off and place the middle finger here on 2 of the C, 2 of the E string. We're going to leave our index finger on 2 of the C this whole time to keep it ringing. So that you can hear that measure 14, 15, and 16 should be something like this. Now as we go into 18, we're going to play 2, 2, 2, 0, again that D chord, hopefully with just that index finger. And we're going to start off the exact same way, 3 on the E, open A, the G chord. But then we're going to go up to the 3 and then up again to the 5 and up to the 7. So what I like to do here is my pinky gets a big workout because the pinky plays 3, then the pinky plays 5, then the pinky plays 7. And then on 20, I go to an E minor, ring finger here on 4 of the C, middle finger here on 3 of the E, index here on 2 of the A. Strum through all 4 of those strings. And open A, 3 on the E. Notice I'm still holding that shape, right? The index finger comes off to make the open A, but the ring and middle fingers stay on. And the real reason for that is when you look at measure 21, you actually just move those 2 fingers down to make that 3 on the C with the ring and 2 on the E with the middle. So measure 18, 19, 20, and 21 should sound something like this, very similar to 14 through 17. Now at this point here, it goes back into Carol of the Bells. So we go back to what we did on measure 2, essentially going through now on measure 22. So we start with that same. So you see that that is all identical to what we played just a few moments ago. So ring finger here on 4 of the C, middle on 3 of the E, and then we're going to use the index on 2 of the E. And then we switch to the 2 and the 3 here, 2 with the index finger on the C string, ring finger here on 3 of the E, 2 on the E with the middle, and then 3 and 0. We can use our ring finger there or our middle. It really doesn't matter because it only matters once we go to the next chord here of 2 with the index, 3 with the ring, and then it goes back to the 4. Back to the 2. Now, as we look at the last measure here, or the last set of measures, we're going to play 0 and 3. And just like we did before, but then on measure 26, everything changes a little bit. We're going to play 3 on the C with our middle finger, and 3 on the E with our ring finger. Then we're going to play 2 on the E with our index, leaving the middle finger still on the C string. Come back on the 3 of the E, then the open E. But you'll notice the timing here, the notes are worth twice the value. So we want to play it half as fast. So it goes. And then to end the whole thing, we play 0 with a bar across 7 with the index finger of the C, E, and the A strings. So that you can hear that whole end section, starting with actually measure 22 going all the way through, it should sound something like this. And that is the conclusion of Carol of the Bells and God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen as a medley. So I hope you enjoyed this. It was a lot of fun to make. It's a very kind of spicy arrangement with a lot of chromaticism, which I mentioned at the beginning of the video. And what chromaticism is actually when you're playing notes in a sequential order, literally one step at a time. And so in this particular arrangement, you'll see that when it does the God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen, when it plays that melody, the harmony with it, meaning the chords and other things that are going on, is chromatically moving, where we have followed by, so this note went down, and then went down again, and then went down again, and then down again, before it comes back up because there's nowhere left to go after zeros. And so that sound is really what makes this arrangement unique and what I had a lot of fun with the arrangement, while I was working on it. So, as always, if you have any questions with this, feel free to leave them down in the comments below. I always check those and make sure that people aren't having too much trouble with these arrangements. I've had a lot of fun doing them. I'm really excited about moving forward into 2020. Again, this video and all of these videos here on this YouTube channel are thanks to all of my patrons over at patreon.com. So if you haven't checked it all out already, I'd appreciate if you did. It's in the link in the description where you can find the tab for this and over 30 other songs that we've done at the time of this video. So it's pretty crazy. Well, I hope you all have a wonderful holiday season. Thank you so much for watching the video, and I'll see you guys next year for whatever song you think up next over at Patreon. Thanks so much. Take it easy.